Well, it's Chords and Coffee, and about a year ago, we did a lesson on doubling down on double stops. You can find it if you're interested. It's back when I used to do the darn thing on my phone, walking around through the store, shooting Chords and Coffee on my phone. Now we got handsome Jordan behind the camera there. Everybody say hi to Jordan in the chat. So with that, I want to expand on that, and I'm going to give you a lot of information, so fair warning. And this is going to be about chords that are born out of the pentatonic scale in a couple of different ways, and we'll go a little deep on this, okay? So get your paper out, get your screen freeze grab utensil on your computer or whatever it is used for that, and away we go. So first of all, pentatonic double stops, where are they? Well, a double stop is playing two notes at once. We're going to do this in the key of E. And if you haven't played pentatonic double stops before, as soon as I play this, you're going to go, oh yeah, I recognize tunes that do that, okay? And it's super simple. And I want to show you that briefly, but where we're going with this is extrapolating chords that are nestled neatly inside the pentatonic scale, but also using a pentatonic scale that isn't just the relative minor, in this case, C sharp minor pentatonic with E, which is great. Get a lot of mileage out of that. Ain't nothing wrong with it. But there's other flavors out there that you can use that, guess what? Use the same fingering. The whole point of this exercise is greater return on investment. High yield gains, right? When you work with the pentatonic scale, your hands get used to these motions, these activities, and these ergonomic things that are happening on the neck of the guitar. And if you can just move it around to different pentatonic, what I'll call maybe tonal centers. And I'll show you that in just a second, but this is a big deal. Also, if we have time and I'll go over, I'm going to show you some other chords that are born out of the pentatonic scale. So first thing first, let's just look at, we're going to do C sharp minor pentatonic, right? And when I'm playing this and I'm doing double stops, that's what I'm doing. So what am I doing real quick? So I've got my pinky and my ring are going to kind of be glued together here on the 12th fret of the high E and the B. And then index finger on the 9th fret of the B and the E. And then when I switch to this, I go pinky and ring, pinky on the 12th fret of the B, and then ring is going to be on the G string in the 11th fret. And then back to index finger on the G and the B. And then ring and pinky again on the 11th fret, this time of the D and the G. And then index, 9th fret again, right? And then again, ring and pinky, 11th fret, this time the A and the D. And then the index finger is going to be on the 9th fret of the A and the D. And then I'm making this shape here, which is sort of reminiscent of a G chord shape here. But I'm using my ring finger and my pinky on the 11th fret and the 12th fret of the A and the E. I don't charge extra for that. Anyway, and then down here to the 9th fret of the E and the A. And even just right then and there, there's little things that you've heard before. Little familiar melodies that are inside those double stops. Hey, if all you got out of this little Chords and Coffee episode was just that much right there, next time you're jamming with some folks or you put on a backing track that's, you know, some kind of E major thing, just mess around with that. There's a lot of cool stuff in there. But wait, there's more. So remember this BB box? So middle finger on the 13th fret of the G, index finger on the 12th fret of the B, ring finger on the 14th fret of the, I'm going to quit singing, 14th fret of the B, index finger on the E of the 12th fret, ring finger on the 14th fret of the E. Right? Check this out. So yes, we can go kind of a Eastern flair to that. If I go 14, 12, 9, 12, 14. But what's really cool and what happens a lot and what your ear will probably recognize is this. Something like that. That kind of activity. All that's happening here is I've got my index finger on the 12th fret of the B and the E. Now I'm not doing the full double stop. I'm just hammering on the 14th fret of the B, letting that E string ring open on the 12th. And if you kind of grab it and pluck it, you know what I mean? Like you're trying to get an olive out of the bottom of a jar. I like them big old olives with garlic stuffed in it. Hard to get sometimes, right? And so, like that. And then you might even rake into it whilst plucking for that olive. I use food metaphors. Right? So when you do that, and then a lot of times I'm going to end up using my middle finger and my ring finger on the 13th fret and the 14th fret. What a soundbite, right? 13th fret and the 14th fret, 13 middle, 14 ring, and then move that down to the 11th and the 12th. And then just lay that index finger on the 9th fret of the D, the G, and the B. You've heard that kind of activity before, very Hendrixian, very sort of Yellow Ledbetter kind of stuff like that. Well, while we're on that riff, if you will, that kind of thing, right? Inside the same pentatonic format, if I lay a finger down here, if I take my index finger across the 9th fret, it is my 9th fret, by the way, when I'm playing this guitar. All right. 9th fret on the A, the D, the G, the B, from A to B. And then I'm going to take the ring finger, I'm going to hammer on the 11th fret of the A. Right, listen to that chord. And if you want to add a little hammer-on pull-off on that A string, and then rake into it like that, where you're basically coming back here, that's going to start to sound even more kind of Hendrixian, if you will. And then if I add the double stops to that, mess around with that for a little bit. Come on, you'll find some cool stuff in there. It ain't hard to do. Just mess around. Give yourself some time. Be patient with you as you're working through that. But there's all kinds of really cool stuff in there. But wait, there's still even more. So I gave you the E chord. Now check this out. What if I wanted to play around here and then go to A? How about this? What am I doing? Taking that same index finger on the 9th fret from the D, the G, and the B, and I'm hammering on. Reminds me of Brian May, It's a Kind of Magic, Queen. You know that? There's a moment there we kind of may even be in the same key. I don't know. I have to look it up. But I'm going to hammer on with my middle finger on the 10th fret of the B, ring finger on the 11th fret of the D. G is being held down by that human capo there. That sounds so good because we like the sound of that E over the A. We like the sound of A's 5th E with A in the bass. We're going to unpack that even more here in a second. And then if I wanted a B, just to kind of turn it all around, I could do this. Or, excuse me, right? This guy right here. Or probably more like this, but I'll give it to you both ways. Index finger on the 9th fret again. And then I'm going to play, basically make a D chord here. Put it right here. We're going to have my middle finger on the 11th fret of the G, pinky on the 12th fret of the B, and then ring on the 11th fret of the high E. There's a B chord. But if you've seen Chords and Coffee before, we did a video where chords that you got to use, or it was, I'll put a link in the description here. You've got index finger across the 9th fret again. This time, just use the ring finger on the 11th fret of the G, pinky on the 12th fret of the B, and let that high E be open with that C sharp. Right? And there you go there. There's a B. Now, going back to this sound, that B over E, there's that 5 over its root again. That's a cool sound. Remember I said a second ago, we might unpack that for a second. Well, here comes the unpacking. If I play B's relative minor pentatonic, so B's relative minor is G sharp. G sharp is the 6th of B. It's a relative minor. Please comment below if you want me to do a whole lesson on the pentatonic decoder ring as far as figuring out the minors and stuff. Put that in the main comment section. I'd be glad to provide that for you. But G sharp minor pentatonic on the 4th fret, right? Starting on the 4th fret of the low E and going to 7. All the way up. What is it? Why does that work over E? Well, it's because if I play, just call out the notes of G sharp minor pentatonic as they relate to E. B is the 5th. G sharp is the 3rd. F sharp is the 2nd or the 9th. D sharp is the major 7. And then C sharp is the 6th, right? Those are all pretty notes, right? Well, guess what? Not only does that work over E, but it also sounds really cool over, obviously B, it sounds great. But it also sounds really cool over A. Listen. what's happening there. When I play this A note over that, and I'm looking at my notes here so I don't get off track here. When I play this A note over that, if I just hammer on the D and the G on the 4th fret with my index finger, and then to the 6th fret with my ring and pinky, there's a nice major 7 thing. But check this out. Whoops. Wait a minute. Fix this real quick. I may have had too much coffee at this time. Anyway, but here's an A major 7 sharp 11. This is a beautiful sound. This is the Lydian sound. We've talked about this before. We'd love to do a whole lesson on the Lydian idea too. This is going to be next finger on the 4th fret of the high E, 4th fret of the B. Ring and pinky come down here glued together on the 6th fret. Pinky's on the 6th fret of the G. Rings on the 6th fret of the D. Hitting that A bass on the 5th fret with the middle finger. It's how beautiful that is. And I'm just thinking about G sharp minor pentatonic with A in the bass. It sounds awesome. And by the way, all of this stuff is totally movable, right? I can do this same kind of idea, because if you think about G sharp being a half step behind A, I can do the same thing for E on a D sharp or E flat pentatonic. I don't have a chart for that, but you get the idea. So where is all that going? Well, all of a sudden now you've got this wonderful ground for noodling, right? And also for just playing in that key. Again, it's all movable. I've got this chord here. I've got this A chord. I've got this A chord. I've got this guy. And then I probably need to add a B to that. Let's do a B6, because in its natural state, a C sharp minor pentatonic, C sharp again is E's relative minor, so C sharp minor pentatonic equals E major pentatonic. In its natural state, when you're playing this pentatonic, E is the root, C sharp is your 6, B is your 5, G sharp's your major 3rd, and then you've got this F sharp is your 2nd or your 9th, and then back to E, right? In its natural state, we kind of are hearing a lot of 6 and 9s together, right? I'm going somewhere with this. Stay with me. So if I had this B6 as my turnaround chord, index finger on the 7th fret of the low E, skipping the A, ring finger's going to be on the 9th fret of the D, middle finger's going to be on the 8th fret of the G, and then pinky is going to be on the 9th fret of the B. And then take that whole thing down a whole step to make it a B7, so you're going to have to rearrange your fingers quickly. Middle finger comes to the 7th fret of the low E, ring finger 7th fret of the D. Ain't doing nothing with the A. And then index finger is going to be on the 6th fret of the G, pinky is going to be on the 7th fret of the B, and then back to that E. Oh yeah, did I give you that one? Index finger on the 4th fret of the D, the G, the B, and then hammering on with the middle finger on the 5th fret of the B, and then ring finger on the 6th fret of the D. So that whole thing. And then if you want to, be kind of fancy. Stuff over and over again when you're using these chords derived from the pentatonic scale. You have your middle finger on the 7th fret of the D, ring finger, 7th fret of the D, middle finger is on the 6th fret of the G, and then pinky is on the 7th fret of the B. It's all back to that E chord we just did a second ago, right? Now, I so desperately want to go through each pentatonic voicing or each pentatonic scale, for E as it lays out on the fretboard. Do it one at a time. I'll do it for you really quick just so you can just see it. So there's those scales. If you're interested, we'll do a whole lesson just on that and unpacking that. Be happy to. But this is Chords and Coffee, not scales and some appropriate beverage that starts with S, scales and Slurpees. I guess, I don't know. Scales and smoothies, there you go. All right. So anyway, all that to say this, there's one more quick set of chords that are really cool. The guy that plays with Marvin, Danny Rabin, awesome guitar player, really funny too, and he's got a great social media presence on Instagram and YouTube. If you haven't checked him out, you should. The name of the band is Marvin, M-A-R-B-I-N. His name is Danny, D-A-N-I, and then Rabin, R-A-B-I-N, and just incredible guitar player, and just a great teacher too. He did a similar lesson on this where he was talking about these 6/9 chords as they relate to kind of the gypsy jazz kind of thing. Of course, lots of other genres use them too, but I just wanted to show you, if you take the pentatonic scale, and just a second ago when I talked about how you got the 6th, you got the 9th, and you got a root, major third, and a 5. If you take those and you make chords out of them, those chords are kind of like this. So here's like an E6, E6/9. You've got your middle finger here on the 2nd fret of the D string. Index finger is going to be on the 1st fret of the G. And then your ring and your pinky are together again. Peaches and herb. Reunited and it feels so good. It's hard to waste your life with that. So you're going to have the B string on the 2nd fret with the ring finger, pinky's on the 2nd fret of the high E. Now the next one, check this one out. This one feels a little different because the E is higher up in the chord. This time your index finger is going to be on the 4th fret from the D, the G, the B, and the high E, and then your middle finger is going to hit the 5th fret of the B, ring finger is going to hit the 6th fret of the G. Still E6/9. Then this next one is going to be right here. Now you've got your index finger on the 6th fret of the D, 6th fret of the G with your middle. Ring is on the 7th fret of the B. Pinky is on the 7th fret of the B again. And then this guy, also going to feel a little different because you don't have an E in there, but there it is. Index finger is going to be on the 9th fret all the way across from the D to the high E. And then put your ring finger on the 11th fret of the G. And then finally this guy, just like this one. And so now you're going to have your index finger on the 11th fret of the D, middle finger 11th fret of the G, and then 12th and 12th on the B and the pinky with the ring and the pinky respectively. And then you can resolve it to where we started, just an octave up. Beautiful chords, completely born out of the pentatonic. Really cool, really useful, and I hope this is kind of just, the goal here was just to kind of open your ear and open your mind to like, wow, there's some really cool chords out there that I hadn't heard before or thought about, and they're relatively easy to access. You'll play them by accident if you're playing double stops using a pentatonic scale with another musician like a bass player or a guitar player. So I hope this was helpful to you. Please, 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 please leave comments and questions in the comments section. You can always email me at natewhite, N-A-T-E-W-H-I-T-E @palenmusic.com. If you have specific questions or you're interested in lessons, I'm happy to help that way. We do this every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. and your comments are feeding the fire of the fuel of Chords and Coffee every single Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Central Time, right here on YouTube. Friends, we're living life the best we can with guitar in our hand. We'll see you next time.